My husband, Adrian, didn't build homes. He curated living experiences. He was the architect of the moment, the man behind the invisible living movement. His houses were all glass, steel, and sharp angles, designed to blur the line between nature and shelter. He was obsessed with transparency. Secrets die in the light, he liked to say in his TED Talks, wearing his signature black turtleneck, looking like a visionary prophet. I was the invisible infrastructure that kept the visionary standing. I was a forensic accountant by trade, though Adrian preferred to introduce me as his business manager. I handled the taxes, the permits, the contractors who hated him, and the zoning boards that wanted to strangle him. We lived in his masterpiece, the Cube. It was a 3-story glass box perched on a cliff edge in Malibu. There were no interior walls, only sliding glass partitions, no curtains, nowhere to hide. Or so I thought. The crack in the glass appeared on a Thursday. I was reconciling the quarterly expenses for Adrian's firm, Vantage Arch. I'm good with numbers. Numbers are comforting. They don't have moods, they don't lie. If a column doesn't balance, there is always a reason. There was a recurring charge on the company Amex. Small, insignificant. $14.99 a month for a cloud-stored service called Vault. We didn't use Vault. We used an enterprise server that cost $5,000 a month. I assumed it was a subscription Adrian had forgotten to cancel. I logged into the account using the password he used for everything. Transparency 1. It wasn't a forgotten subscription. It was a digital archive. Inside were thousands of photos, videos, PDFs. The photos were of a woman. She was young, maybe 25, an interior designer named Lila who had interned for us last summer. There were photos of them in Paris, in a hotel room I recognized from Adrian's business trip last October. There were videos of them in our bed in the Cube, taken on days when I was visiting my mother in the hospital. But that was just the infidelity. Painful, yes, but the PDFs were what made my blood run cold. They were financial documents, wire transfers, LLC formations. Adrian wasn't just cheating on me, he was embezzling from his own firm. He was siphoning millions into shell companies registered in the Cayman Islands. And the worst part? The shell companies were in my name. I opened a file labeled Exit Strategy. It was a timeline. Phase 1, transfer assets to Elena Holdings. Completed. Phase 2, file anonymous tip to IRS regarding Elena's embezzlement. Scheduled November 15th. Phase 3, file for divorce citing financial betrayal and loss of trust. Scheduled November 20th. Phase 4, relocate to Santiago with L. December 1st. He was going to frame me. He was going to send me to federal prison for stealing the money he was using to run away with his mistress. He would play the victim, the brilliant artist betrayed by his greedy, calculating wife. He would keep his reputation, and I would get a cell. I looked at the date. It was November 8th. I had 1 week. I didn't cry. I didn't smash the glass walls. I did what I do best. I balanced the equation. Adrian was hosting the unveiling of his new project, The Prism, in 5 days. It was going to be a massive event at our house. Investors, press, the architectural elite. He planned to announce his expansion into South America, the cover for his move to Chile. I spent the next 4 days being the perfect wife. I organized the caterers, I managed the guest list, I smiled when he kissed my cheek and told me I looked tired. Just nervous about the party, I said. I want everything to be transparent. He smirked. That's my girl. While he slept, I worked. I couldn't just move the money back. That would alert him. I needed to change the narrative. I needed the world to see what I saw. Adrian's entire brand was built on smart living. The Cube was fully automated. The lights, the sound, the screens, everything was controlled by a central server called the Nexus. I hacked the Nexus. It wasn't hard. He was an artist, not a coder. The night of the party arrived. The cube looked spectacular. The glass walls reflected the ocean and the stars. 200 people in black tie sipped champagne and marveled at Adrian's genius. Lila was there, wearing a dress that cost more than my car, standing near the back, looking smug. At 9 p.m., Adrian took the stage, a raised glass platform in the center of the living room. "Welcome," he boomed, his voice amplified by the hidden speakers. "Tonight, I want to show you the future, a future where we have nothing to hide, a future of pure truth." He gestured to the massive floor-to-ceiling smart glass wall behind him. It was supposed to display the renderings of the prism. "Project Prism," he commanded the AI. "Initiate visual." The lights dimmed, the music swelled, and then the screen flickered. It wasn't a rendering of a building. It was a bank statement, a massive, high-definition projection of the wire transfers. The crowd murmured. Adrian laughed nervously. "Ah, a technical glitch. The transparency is a bit too literal tonight. Reset system." The screen didn't reset. It changed. Now it was an email chain from Adrian to his lawyer. Subject: the wife problem. Body: make sure the paper trail is tight. I want the IRS to find the Elena Holdings account immediately. She needs to be in custody before I leave for Santiago. The murmurs turned to gasps. Adrian tapped his earpiece. "Cut the feed. Cut it now." But I had locked the system. I stood by the bar, sipping sparkling water, watching the show. The screen changed again. A video. It was surveillance footage from inside the cube. It showed Adrian and Lila sitting on this very sofa, drinking wine. Audio. "She's so stupid, Adrian," Lila was saying on the screen. "She just stares at her spreadsheets. She has no idea you're setting her up." Audio. "Adrian, she's a tool, babe, a useful idiot. She'll do 5 years for fraud and will be living on the beach. It's the perfect design." The room was dead silent. Lila turned pale and tried to push her way toward the exit, but the crowd was too dense. Adrian stood on the stage, his face a mask of horror. He looked at the tech booth, he looked at the screen, and then he looked at me. I raised my glass. "Project Prism," I said clearly. "End simulation." The screen went black. Then the house lights slammed on to full brightness, blinding surgical white light. "What did you do?" Adrian screamed, pointing at me. "She hacked it! She's crazy! She's trying to ruin me!" But the investors were already checking their phones, the journalists were typing furiously, and the 2 men in cheap suits standing near the front door, men I had tipped off 3 days ago, started walking toward the stage. "Adrian Vance," one of them said, flashing a badge. "FBI, Financial Crimes Division." "No, no, no, it's her! The accounts are in her name!" "We know about the accounts, sir. The Mrs. Vance provided us with the metadata, the original IP addresses, and the audio recordings of you conspiring to commit fraud and obstruction of justice. We've been monitoring your transactions for 72 hours. They cuffed him in front of Architectural Digest, Vanity Fair, and his biggest investors. As they walked past me, he stopped. He looked smaller, deflated, the visionary stripped bare. "Why?" he whispered. "You could have just left." "I calculated the cost," I said, my voice calm. "Leaving would have cost me my freedom. Destroying you? That was tax deductible." I watched the police car drive away, its red and blue lights reflecting off the glass walls of the cube. The next morning, I met with the board of Vantage Arch. With Adrian arrested and the stock tanking, they were desperate to salvage the company. "We don't know what to do," the chairman said, wringing his hands. "The finances are a mess. The brand is toxic." "I can fix it," I said, opening my laptop. "I know where every penny is. I know the projects. I know the clients." "What do you want?" "I want the chair, and I want the cube." They gave me everything. I still live in the glass house. I redecorated. I put up curtains in the bedroom. Adrian is currently serving 8 years in a federal facility. I hear he hates it there. Apparently, the walls are concrete and there are no windows. He finally got his wish, though. He wanted a life of total transparency. And now, thanks to the public record of his trial, the whole world can see right through him.